Hey everyone, welcome to Ian and Friends. I am FloBikes Senior Editor Ian Dille.
And I am FloBikes intern Preston Glace. And today we're going to be previewing the 2018 European Road Championships happening this Sunday, August the 12th in Glasgow, Scotland on FloBikes.
Live and on demand. Now this is a race that's relatively new to the championship space. First European Championships was in 2016, won by Peter Sagan over Julian Alaphilippe. Last year, Norway, Alexander Kristoff won a super tight race. It was the width of a tire over Elia Viviani. This year, Glasgow, Scotland. The racers have really taken to this championship event. We saw when this was first introduced, there was some grumbling by team directors like Patrick Lefevre that they had to, loan their riders for this national event. Racers here are going to race with their national teams in their national team jerseys. But the racers really seem to have taken to this event. They seem to really enjoy racing, for their home country. The other important point is that there's a lot of UCI points on the table here. There's 250 UCI points for the win. In comparison, you get 120 points for winning a stage of the Tour de France, 600 points for winning a world championship. So lots of UCI points up for offer, and the racers like UCI points because the salaries that they can command from their teams are actually based in part by their overall UCI ranking. So, what do we have on tap? Oh, one other thing that's sort of cool is that this is part of an Olympic-style event with a bunch of other events all going on at the same time. We've been seeing multiple disciplines going on, BMX, triathlon, mountain bike, track. We saw Elia Viviani second in the Omnium point race, so he did the track event, and now he's lining up for the 144-mile men's road race. So yeah, let's get to it. What does this circuit look like, Preston?
Yeah, like you said, it's 144 miles or 234 some odd kilometers, which is insane to think about. It's going to be 5 laps, basically in kind of Glasgow proper, and it looks like a very punchy style course, similar to the Richmond World Championships in 2015, which was won by none other than Peter Sagan. So, obviously it's a course that's going to suit him very well. But in the women's road race, we saw the 2 breakaway riders, they got reeled in inside of the last 2 kilometers. It was close, and even the group that reeled them in was a very select group. Pretty small because there's these short punchy climbs. There's nothing long and sustained. It's just these punchy climbs that whittle down the group over time.
Yeah, technical course, lots of twisting, turning, short, steep hills, some cobblestones. We saw some interesting riding going on in the women's championship event. I mean, the Dutch racers were so strong that they had like 2 riders off the front, but they were also chasing at the same time. So I think the tactics are going to be a little bit different in the men's race. But, I think that selection of, the selection happening from the back, a race of attrition where riders are just falling off the back rather than going up the road, is something we might see in the men's race.
Yeah, and I will say one thing. An exciting sort of matchup that might come out of this race is Van Aert and Van der Poel. The kings of cross are going to be duking it out on the road.
Yeah,
I mean, they both have been racing well when they have crossed over to roads. Van Aert had a fairly successful Classics campaign in the spring, and then Van der Poel went on and won his national championships recently.
Yeah, it's exciting to see these 2 racers back in action and facing off in a completely different discipline than we would normally see them going toe-to-toe in a cyclocross race. And this course really sort of plays to their strengths, with punchy, technical nature, narrow roads, tight, twisty. The national championship that Van der Poel won in Holland was similarly kind of a technical, tight course, sort of a corkscrew finishing climb. And so obviously Van Aert as well. Incredible form. We saw him on the podium at Strade Bianche. So yeah, it'll be cool. I mean, and on their rosters as well, I mean, Van der Poel, reigning Dutch national champion, is probably one of the strongest guys on the Dutch roster. So yeah, they might very well be racing for him.
Yeah, going down their roster, he honestly, with that national title right now, seems to be #1 on the roster.
Yeah.
Van Aert is going to be on the Belgian team with Greg Van Avermaet, who is probably the biggest challenger to Sagan, right?
Yeah, I don't think he'll be commanding a leadership role. Let's talk about Peter Sagan. You know, the last time we saw him was at the Tour de France. Horrific crash on the Col de Portet, and he really struggled the remaining stages of the Tour de France. He called the penultimate or third to last day, I guess, last day in the mountains is one of the hardest days he'd ever had on a bicycle, just getting to the finish of that stage and retaining the green jersey. So we saw a very different Sagan at the end of the Tour de France, was not a challenger on the Champs-Élysées. But he seems to be back and on good form, motivated for this European Championships. And the other exciting news is he's headed to the Vuelta a España.
Yeah.
And he's going to use that to defend his World Championship title. So, if he wins the European Championships, Sagan would have his own national championship title from Slovakia, the World Championship title, and the European Championship title. He's going to have a closet full of jerseys.
Yeah. He seems to be mostly recovered from that crash in the Tour. I mean, if his social media is anything to go by, right? He's quite the personality, and according to Instagram, he's ready. So we'll see if he's got what it takes.
Yeah. Who's going to challenge him? Who do you have lined up as his main contenders?
I'd say at the top is Van Avermaet, but then maybe a little bit of a dark horse will be Magnus Cort Nielsen.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw him win that incredible stage in the Tour.
And Denmark has a strong team also. We noticed Mads Pedersen, second of the Tour de Flanders, strong breakaway rider, so there's some options there as well.
Yeah, and then you've got Elia Viviani, and he'll be, like you were saying, he was racing the track events just a few days ago, and now he's coming over and racing the road race.
Yeah.
Much like we had Van der Poel racing the mountain bike. Now he's coming over to the road. It'll be interesting to see those kind of crossovers.
Yeah, reigning national champion, Elia Viviani. The guy is just a really good bike racer. I think a lot of these guys will be racing this for a field sprint, maybe a reduced bunch sprint finish, but we've seen the way Viviani was racing on the track, the way he raced at the Italian National Championships. He's not afraid to go up the road either.
Yeah, and then a couple other contenders from Germany. You've got John Degenkolb, and he had a very inspiring win in the Tour as well on that cobbled stage. And then we've also got Sonny Colbrelli.
Yeah, that's sort of my dark horse pick. I mean, this guy was on such great form at the Tour de France, also at the Tour de Suisse. Really strong rider, and these tight, punchy climbs, I think will really suit his skill set.
Yeah, it's definitely a classic style race course.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see who's left at the end, because it may not be a breakaway that goes away. It might just be the main group gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see aggressive racing as well. There's other nations with large teams here, full teams of 8 riders like France and Spain that don't necessarily have a sprinter, so they're going to be out on the attack, riding aggressively, looking to not let this race come down to a field sprint. So it's going to be an exciting day, and we will see you guys on Sunday for the European Championships.
Yeah, please join us. Thanks for watching.